A manipulator does not always argue to solve a problem. Sometimes they argue to collect your reaction. They remember the one sentence you said under pressure. They save the screenshot without the context. They tell the story later with the beginning removed. And now, your reaction becomes the evidence. That is how someone secretly starts building a case against you. Not in a courtroom. In a group chat, in a family, at work, in a friendship where every mistake somehow gets saved for later. So here is the first test. Are they trying to solve the problem, or are they saving pieces of you for later? Healthy conflict tries to repair the issue. Manipulative conflict tries to preserve your worst-looking moment. And once you can see that difference, the pattern becomes easier to spot. Reaction. Quote. Mistake. Witness. Defense. Those are the 5 pieces they collect. And the last one is the most dangerous because sometimes your attempt to defend yourself becomes the final piece of their case. Sign number 1. They preserve your reaction, not the context. They push. They interrupt. They accuse. They twist what you said. They keep repeating the same pressure until you finally react. Then suddenly, the pressure disappears from the story. Only your reaction remains. They do not say, I kept pushing them. They say, look how they talked to me. They do not say, I cornered them until they snapped. They say, see? This is who they really are? That is the move. They are not preserving the truth. They are preserving the most useful piece. And the mistake is understandable. You try to explain harder. You think, if I just give the full context, they will understand. But if someone is removing context on purpose, more explaining may not fix the frame. It may give them more material. So your first shield is simple. Before I respond to that, include what happened before it. That sentence does not attack. It brings the missing context back into the room, because a fair person can handle context. A case builder needs context removed. Sign number 2. They ask questions that sound curious but feel like traps. So why did you say that? Is that what you really think? Can you repeat what you just said? Are you admitting you were angry? Now, a healthy person might ask questions because they are confused. That is not the warning sign. The warning sign is when the question is shaped to trap one specific answer. A case builder is not trying to understand the full situation. They are trying to get a soundbite. And if you feel like you have to lawyer your own answers to a friend, you may not be in a normal conversation anymore. You may be in a deposition. That is why the question feels narrow. It leaves no room for context, no room for nuance. It is designed to make one answer look bad when it stands alone. And this is where kind people get caught. They answer every question because they think cooperation proves innocence. But a loaded question is not solved by a longer answer. A loaded question is solved by naming the frame. Your shield is, I'll answer a fair question, not a loaded one. Or, what are you trying to understand? If they are trying to understand, they can clarify. If they are collecting a quote, they will get irritated that you noticed the trap. Sign number 3. They retell small mistakes like character evidence. This is where the disagreement starts turning into a file. At first, it may look like they are still upset about one moment, but watch where the story goes. They stop mentioning your mistake only to you. They start mentioning it around you, to a friend, to a coworker, to someone who may later become part of the audience. That is the shift. They are no longer looking for an apology. They are looking for a consensus. You were late once. Now you are unreliable. You forgot one message. Now you do not care. You got defensive after being pushed. Now you are aggressive. One mistake becomes evidence of your character. That is not accountability, that is identity framing. Accountability says, this happened. Let's deal with it. Case building says, this happened, so now I get to define you. And this is where people spiral. Because you are no longer defending an action, you are defending your whole identity. So here is the shield. One mistake is not a pattern. Or, we can talk about what happened without turning it into who I am. You are not refusing accountability, you are refusing exaggeration. You are saying, keep the issue specific. Sign number 4. They recruit witnesses before they talk to you directly. You feel the room change before you know what happened. Someone becomes colder. Someone stops replying normally. Someone says, I heard there was an issue. Or, I am not taking sides, but... And you realize something strange. Other people already have a version of the story, but you never got a direct conversation. By itself, one conversation with another person may mean nothing. But when the room changes before anyone comes to you directly, pay attention. Healthy conflict goes to the person first. Manipulative conflict often goes to the room first. They are not trying to resolve the problem. They are trying to shape the audience. And your first instinct may be to chase everyone. You want to explain yourself to each person. You want to clear every misunderstanding. But chasing every witness can make you look more frantic. And sometimes, that is exactly what the person wanted. They got to the room first. Then, they waited for you to enter panicked. Your shield is, if there is an issue with me, bring it to me directly. Or, I do not respond to versions of a story I have not been allowed to hear clearly. This redirects the issue back to the source, because directness is reasonable when someone wants repair, but directness is dangerous to someone building a case. Sign number 5. They wait for the moment you defend yourself too hard. This is the part most people miss. They may not need to prove that you are wrong. They only need to make you look unstable while defending yourself. So they push the frame. They remove context. They ask loaded questions. They turn a mistake into your identity, and they get other people watching, and then they wait. Because they know you will want to clear your name. So you send the long message. You explain every detail. You correct every false claim. You write paragraphs. You list the timeline. You try to prove you are not cruel, not selfish, not unstable, not dishonest, not whatever label they placed on you. And then they use your intensity as proof. They say, see how much they are writing? See how defensive they are? See how they cannot let it go? And now your defense becomes the final exhibit. Not because your defense is wrong, but because it looks desperate when the pressure that caused it has been removed. That is the trap. They create a situation where silence feels impossible. Then they punish you for speaking too much. So your shield is, I'm not defending myself against a version of the story that is missing context. Or, I'll discuss the issue when the full context is included. That is not weakness. That is control. You are no longer trying to win a rigged frame. You are refusing to feed it. So watch the sequence. Reaction. Quote. Mistake. Witness. Defense. That is the case-building ladder. Your protection is not panic. Your protection is context, brevity, and directness. Context means your reaction does not get separated from what caused it. Brevity means you do not give 10 paragraphs to someone collecting material. Directness means you bring the issue back to the person, the behavior, and the facts. And this distinction matters. Not everyone who remembers details is manipulating you. Not everyone who takes a screenshot is dangerous. Not every conflict is a secret case. Healthy people use details to repair. Manipulative people use details to control the story. So if you notice this pattern, do not rush to defend your entire identity. Slow down. Bring the context back, keep the issue specific, and stop giving more evidence to a process that was never trying to be fair. Because once the case is built, they only need one thing to win: an audience. Private evidence becomes dangerous when it turns into public reputation damage. They take the screenshot, they take the reaction, they take the half story, then they carry it into the room before you even know there is a room. Because the case is only the beginning. The real damage starts when they get other people to believe it. And that is why you need to watch the breakdown on how someone quietly turns people against you.